guys, it's my favourite month of the year, and at the same time not my favourite month of the year because Samhain or Halloween is fast approaching, and as a sensitive it's kind of a crazy time of the year for me, especially since I'm on my own, so I like to stay nice and closed because it freaks me out when I'm on my own and I get sort of unexpected visits, but you gotta live with it, I guess. And I know that on the one hand, talking about it in this video is not gonna help, unfortunately, because that tends to attract things when I start talking about things like this, my experiences. However, I want to share in the hopes that maybe that might make me feel a little less alone in all of this. Today I'm going to start off by telling you a few of my paranormal experiences. In the next video I will probably talk about my life in the haunted house, because I did live in a proper haunted house for 5 years, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, I guess I should start chronologically. And I probably won't continue like that because I know what I'm like. But hey, my first ever paranormal experience that I can recall, I was a very small child. I don't know exactly what age. My first memory I ever had that I can remember now as an adult was when I was 2.5, according to my mother, because she remembers that day too. So I think this was after or maybe before, but it was around that time because I know that I was in a cot because we were at some family friend's place that we only ever went to once for some sort of dinner party or something, and they put a travel cot in the spare bedroom for me to go to sleep in. And I remember it was still light, so I presume it was sort of summertime, either late spring, early autumn, or just in the summertime. I cannot remember exactly, because what really stood out was that little boy. I knew he wasn't alive. I knew it. You could tell from his face. He had these really dark sunken eyes and this really white skin, and he was dressed like, I would say for me it was like 40s, 50s. It was like when my dad was a kid, in a little shirt and a V-neck sweater and shorts and knee socks, and, really sort of well groomed. And he kind of freaked me out. So I called my mum, but she didn't hear me because they were having food and drink and merrymaking. Downstairs or in the garden, I can't remember. But this little kid, he wanted to play with me and I couldn't because I was in this cot and I didn't really want to do that. He tried to make me climb out the cot and I said no, I really wouldn't do that. But what he did manage to get me to do, which was really weird, and as a kid I was really well behaved, so I would never have done this in a million years. I didn't do anything before that or since. And what I did was I ripped the wallpaper off the walls in order to make a raincoat for my teddy bear. And when my mum finally came to check on me to see if I was alright, she was like, "Oh my God, what have you done, girl? Why did you do that?" And when I explained to her, she got really uncomfortable and she didn't really tell me off. And the people whose house it was were like, "Oh, that's alright, we were going to redecorate that room anyway." And the room was perfectly well decorated. It didn't look like it needed redoing or whatever. Not that badly, but, whatever. I suspect that the people actually knew about that little boy and suspected that maybe that was what it was all about. Maybe something similar had happened in the past. I don't know. My mum was pretty shaken by it, put it that way. And so I never really spoke to her about paranormal experiences that much until we moved to the haunted house, which will be my next video, if and when I get time to make that, busy as I am. So the next experience that I can actually clearly remember, and I remember these things as if it were yesterday. It was when I was about 8 years old, and I went on a school trip to France, and we were at Versailles. Now, maybe some of you will know about this. I may be wrong in calling it the Trianon, but I think that's what it's called. It's a small house, but in a very grand style, where Marie Antoinette liked to have tea parties with her ladies, and it's rumoured that's where she received her lovers. And we were on a little train driving past it, and I remember I was on the last seat of the last carriage looking backwards, but obviously we were looking all around. And suddenly I see, from the back, I see this beautiful grey blue satin or silk gown on this woman who was holding a white lace parasol. And I grabbed my friend next to me. I said, look, there's somebody dressing up in period costume. How wonderful. And by the time we looked around, that person had vanished into thin air. It was not possible for that woman in that great big dress to hide. It was like an open space by this house. And a while later, we were going round inside some part of Versailles, and I saw this portrait of Marie Antoinette. She wasn't holding the parasol, but she was in the same coloured dress. And I thought to myself, and I think I mentioned this to my girlfriend, I was like, I think I saw Marie Antoinette earlier. Now, one thing I will tell you guys is that I know for a fact that what I saw was an imprint. It was a residual flash. It wasn't a conscious, I could feel it wasn't a conscious entity. It's very rare that I get those. I did actually have one, I think it was last year when I was on the bus, when we were driving along the road, and on the corner of the road there's this really beautiful old oak tree. And by that oak tree there was a young man who, with a backpack and sort of combat trousers and a hoodie, very typical, very casual, looked like he was like a hitchhiker type guy. And then all of a sudden he vanished into thin air. And I looked as we drove past the end of the road, I looked up the other road where he could have gone, and it's quite a long straight road. He couldn't have ducked in anywhere because it's the freaking maternity hospital and it's all sort of fenced off. And he just disappeared. And I saw him disappear anyway, but I thought maybe I'm going cray-cray. But no, I don't know if that was I don't think it was a conscious entity again, because I have had conscious entities that I have seen. One in particular, the last one I'm going to talk to you about, is in 2009, because my son was a wee baby. I've actually got photos on my Facebook, on my old Facebook account, from this creepy castle that I'd already visited once in Normandy called Pérou, Château de Pérou. And I swear to God, as soon as we walked in, like, we were in the courtyard, and as soon as we walked into one of the buildings, I swear to God, I saw a monk. It was like in my mind's eye projected out, and it was a monk. And he wasn't very nice. He didn't really want us in there. But I tried to sort of give out the vibe, we mean no harm, we're just here to see how pretty and lovely it is. Yeah, right? And then we came home, and all night long I was up because there was somebody at the foot of my bed, and I didn't want to wake my boyfriend up, my partner, because I didn't want to scare him, and I knew there was no point. I was trying to tell myself it wasn't real anyway. So if I woke him up and showed him and he saw it too, then I'd be more freaked out, and so would he. And with the guy who's supposed to protect me being freaked out, what? So this guy was standing at the end of my bed, and I was really upset because I just couldn't get to sleep. I kept putting the covers over my head and going, "He's not real. It's not real. It's not real." Put him down. There he was again. And he was wearing wearing a very distinctive outfit. The top of the outfit really stuck in my mind because it was like a leather jerkin with these sort of squares of metal sewn onto it all the way down. I've never seen anything like it. It was really weird. In the end, around 5 a.m., I said to this thing, both in French and in English, look, with all due respect, I don't know what you want. I can't do anything for you, even if I knew most likely. And you're scaring me. I can't sleep. I need to sleep. Please, please go back to where you came from. And you know what? Years later, when the series Vikings came out, the English in that series were wearing the same frickin' outfit, the same armour. And it has to be said that that castle dates back from that period, from around the Viking days. That was its heyday. I was actually worried that perhaps it was a bandit or something, because I knew that the castle had been, when it was abandoned, it was then taken over by bandits. It sounds like something out of Skyrim, doesn't it? But that's the actual case, And then, they sort of left or were chased away or whatever, and then it just got covered in vegetation and was hidden for like 100 years or 200 years, or I can't remember exactly, but that was creepy. That was real validation. When I saw in that series people wearing the same things as the man who was standing at the foot of my bed on Valentine's Day night, the night between the 14th and 15th of February of 2009, my goodness, that was like real validation for me. I have seen things since, and I have had some seriously creepy, very unpleasant supernatural experiences since, but I think, looking at the time on this video, I'm going to save them for next time, because when I talk about my haunted house, I'm not going to go to every single incident, because we were getting paranormal activity every other day, literally. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed listening to some of my stories, and I hope this satisfies the curiosity of people who may read my comments on some videos telling some of my stories, because I will actually perhaps send people the link, because I'm really lazy, so writing it all out would be just too time consuming. Anyway, I really got to go now as well. I've got to go pick my daughter up from school because it's raining and she hasn't got a coat. What a ninny, right? Just like a mum. But anywho, thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear any of your ghost stories, paranormal experiences. So leave that right down in the comment section, please. Anyway, see you soon. Again, thanks for watching, and bye for now.